Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 223. We've got a really great show tonight, and we've got a couple of guests on that we haven't, at least one of them we've had on before a long time ago, but it's been a while. But we will get to them in a minute. But first, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to kind of go around and introduce ourselves, and if we got anything going on, we'll mention that. So yeah, if you're on my channel, so you probably know who I am, I guess, unless maybe I don't know if our guests sent out some stuff. Maybe we've got some new people watching that aren't familiar, but you can find what I do at circworks.com. I also right now on my YouTube channel, I'm doing a series of how to create comics, basically from start to finish, making comics 101. And we are sort of at the penciling stage right now, and we're just going to keep going until we get all the way to printing and publication and all that stuff. And the other thing right now on, where is that? Okay. Yeah. So on my Patreon right now, I'm opening, I had a $20 at the $20 tier. I had, like a live stream where we could all chat and everything. I am opening that up to all my patrons right now. And also I had a video that I uploaded last week that I've made live for everyone because I think it's relevant. I think it can help people out, but it's just basically working from home and some tips. So you don't even have to be a patron. If you want to go, you can actually go to somebody's Patreon. And if you're not a patron, you know, sometimes there is content that you can watch, and some of it is hidden. That one is open for everyone. So if you want to go check that out, you can. And that's all I have to talk about. What about you, Josh?
Sweet. Yeah. As usual, you can find me at joshuakemble.com. You can also read a preview of my graphic novel. All the previously uploaded pages are gone because right now it's at like 5 different publishers through my literary agent. So fingers crossed, hopefully that I can put it out as a book. But at this point, there's a few preview pages of the graphic novel on quarterlystories.com about faith and mental illness. It's like a sloppy autobio comic that you guys should check out. So yeah. And then other than that, I'm just trying to avoid COVID-19 and staying indoors in California. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So now on to our guests. Now this is so the last time I exhibited at a convention, I was talking to these friends of mine, Daniel and Dawna from Steam Crow, and they had talked about being on the show, and that was like almost a year ago. And because their schedule was so busy with conventions and everything, every time I wanted to call it was like convention season. And you guys were actually supposed to come over here, which obviously isn't going to happen now. So I figured, what the heck, we'll just go with Plan B. So how are you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah, we're doing good.
Yeah.
This is Dawna.
Hi.
I'm Daniel. And yeah, we're Steam Crow. So, you know, what's funny is that obviously the world's turned upside down right now, but we still are doing the same thing we normally do in that we're making products, talking to our people, our rangers, monster rangers, and our customers, and sending out products about every day. So that part's the same.
Yeah, we kind of self-quarantine because we're workaholics anyways. So we don't tend to leave, and our poor son is in online school to begin with, and so nothing changed for him, and he was really bummed about that. But so it's good. The only thing that I think the biggest impact has been, like, I feel like I'm in a holding pattern. Yeah. For an unknown time. Yeah. So I find it hard to focus every day and just get stuff done, because I'm like, well, maybe something will change. So I keep waiting for that big change to happen where, you know, life kind of starts returning to normal. And that's been hard to get over that holding pattern.
For sure.
Yeah. So for anyone that's not familiar with what you do, because it is like the most interesting, awesome business model for creatives that I have ever come across. So why don't you guys explain a little bit about what you do and you know what Steam Crow and Monster Rangers are?
So in 2005, we decided to publish our own work, right? To make our own brand called Steam Crow. So we thought we were going to just be book publishers. So we made our first book called Caught Creatures. We self-published it. And in 2006, we started doing shows. And we just slowly built our business. So we had 0 fans. I had a cafe press store for the previous year, and that was like getting my feet wet and making a little money that I reinvested into Steam Crow. And basically, I think that first year we did 3 shows, and then we just grew slowly but surely, blessing every person we came across, every patron or fan, and turn it into a thing. It took about 7 years, but I eventually quit my job to work for us. In the meantime, we had done a comic called Monster Commute, and we did a few more books, and we just kept on making
lots of different products.
Yeah, lots of products until we discovered the Monster Rangers. So that would have been 5 years ago now. So we were basically, up until the point, we were just making products and selling to customers at cons. We were like 95% con-centric. So all the money we ever made was at cons, pretty much, and it was 90% prints. So the print market started to decline, and on the side, I was looking for ways to be more meaningful to people. That was really important to us. How do we connect with people? How do we become important to somebody's life, if at all possible? Because as an artist, you need people to care about your success. And so I didn't know what that answer was. But eventually we had this idea of, what if we made this scouting community called Monster Rangers, and we made some badges, and like we could reward people for being good customers, helpers, and activists.
Yeah. Because
there's those 3 kinds of people that we wanted to reward, right? If you're a good customer, I want to reward you, so you want to do that again. A lot of people wanted to help, though. So, and we needed the help, so we made a badge and a mission for that. And then there are always that 10% or 5% that are activists. They want to do that, and they want to do more. And so I thought, man, we should reward activism as well. But what we didn't know was that this would take over our whole life. Like, this Rangers idea would take over everything. So we didn't know that there would be uniforms. We didn't know that people would want to do meetups. We didn't know that people outside of Arizona would even want to do any of this stuff. And what happened was people made uniforms, and they wanted to do campouts and have meetings and meetups and stories and
missions and
handbooks
crafting and
backpacks and community and friends, and and so that was exciting but terrifying, because it's a kind of a crazy thing. There's not a lot of templates for this sort of business or thing, but it was fantastic, and it came at the right moment, because our print sales tanked and our Ranger sales replaced it, and t-shirts replaced it.
Yeah.
And what the difference was is that it took thousands of people for Steam Crow to make a living a year, right? We'd have to do 1,000. I don't remember how many it is, but it's over 1,000 transactions, probably 1,500 transactions or 2,000 transactions a year at cons, right? To make a little bit of money off of all these people. Where the Rangers, those are the people that they return, they support us, they care. And that's a lot better world, right? And in fact, I could learn their name now, because it's not 2,000 people I have to, meet and talk to, and so we became friends with these people. So anyway, what's happened is that our business now is creating experiences and memories and fun and stories for, this community.
So, so you're mentioning, because I had mentioned in the intro about, Patreon, but you're at the point where you've got a big enough audience that you kind of said, well, why do we need Patreon? We can set up our own thing, kind of, which is what you did. Or maybe that's not the reason behind it.
Well,
that was my interpretation. But
well, it's funny is that it was going to be a Patreon, but we'd already had this site built that has registration of badges, so it keeps track of what badges you have, and profiles and everything. And so when I built the Patreon has a plugin that allows you to hide and reveal content. So I wanted to make it so if you're a Monster Ranger, you would get more content than somebody that wasn't. So meaning on our glossary page, if you were a member, you would get more glossary entries than somebody that wasn't a member. The problem is we already built this site. So when I put on the Patreon plugin, killed it. it destroyed the site. The site exploded.
Oh my.
And
It
so
was bad.
I had it all ready to launch. And so we had to give up on that idea. So I had to go out on the marketplace, find a plugin and use it. And it took me months, I think 6 months to get it to work all perfectly. But the good news is this: Patreon still is taking 10%. Well, in 1 month, I had to pay for this plugin, but in 1 month it paid for itself in terms of that percentage. So it's basically saved us a ton of money by not going by Patreon, which is pretty cool. It's still a pain to have to manage it all yourself, and sometimes it doesn't work, and I have to fix it, and it's a nightmare in its own, but it works. And anyway, it's been great, and thank goodness we got that launched a year ago. When we did, we were actually planning on doing it 2 years ago when Phoenix Comic-Con had its membership fiasco, where they were trying to get people to join and pay to be a member to volunteer, and that soured the local community. And I was going to launch then, and I was like, no more. We can't do that now. So we had to wait for that to kind of die off. Anyway, yes.
So the topic, and I mean, it seems like you're in a little better position than I thought, because I wasn't aware of the it's the Order of Obscura, right? This is
Order of Obscura. Yeah,
Obscura. Sorry.
So Obscura is the universe of the Monster Rangers. It's like this map behind me. It's the monster world plus the human world.
Wasn't it something else? Wasn't it called something else? Or
Monstru is Monstru for my comic is all the way into the monster world. This is the halfway point. This is the mist between the monster world and the human world where they intersect.
I love it. That's so fun.
So anyway, these members are basically protectors of this world, right? The Monster Rangers are the activists in this world. So thank goodness that's been an amazing thing, because we have a Badge of the Month club, so people get mailed an exclusive badge
that comes with a story. So there's a whole story, and then I fold it in some sort of origami pattern, like an envelope.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they get a protective seal.
So you're kind of getting stories. It's a good way to think of it. You're getting stories every month as well. And then we have a mystery of the month. So what's interesting about it is that every month, me and Dawna are challenged to make a project that we don't know what it's going to be, and we build it and make it and mail it to these people. And so they don't know what they're going to get either, which seems like a crazy thing. Like, I don't know that anyone will do it, but people do it. And we try to make sure that it's worth more than what they're paying. And if it becomes a product later, it's never going to be as inexpensive as it is when you're in the order, in the mystery of the month. So, and they're also getting exclusive versions, so I won't do the same exact thing.
So it almost sounds kind of similar to the subscription box model, but more like a fan club.
It is, but it's also more handmade. Like while they will get a membership pin, it's not really reliant on manufacturing products. It's things we're making in-house every month. So, and we don't really know, like we know like a month ahead, I think we'll probably do that. But 2 months out, I don't know what it's going to be. And that's terrifying, but so far so good. We've had a really good response from it. And, it's been a great challenge. I used to make one really special, make one really special thing a year, like a resin cast toy. Well, last year we did 12 things, so it's upped our ante of creativity a ton. So, but it's, it is what it is. It's scary. And you're like, well, maybe I have a limited amount of creativity, but somehow we come up with more stuff.
It's been working so far. We're ahead this year. We know what the badges are at least. So we've got those all organized. So that's good.
Yeah.
This goes to our topic, which I don't know if I set it up properly yet, but basically, what we're talking about is, pivoting in the wake of these sort of uncertain times we're in, where, you're in a fairly, because you did launch the Order of Obscura, you're in a better position than maybe I thought, because I assumed a lot of your income was from the shows and everything, which some of it is. So now because those shows are on hold and everything, is that going to give you more time to focus on Order of Obscura and maybe get caught up on that stuff and get ahead of it? Got to build a buffer up, or?
We hope.
Yeah, I mean, we hope so. I mean, obviously, it's going to allow us to work on more stuff like the Steam Crow Show, which is our YouTube channel,
Cool. Awesome.
and get back to that again. Just getting back into making stuff for our community. Shows. So again, up until the Monster Rangers, shows were all our income.
Right.
Now I'd say shows are probably, well, it depends if you're talking about our camps too, because those are shows, because we do camps with the Monster Rangers,
Right.
but it's probably 25% of our income now, shows.
Yeah. We were only scheduled to do like 3 big shows this year.
Yeah.
So we've been cutting them out, thank goodness, but still it's pretty crazy.
We got some
Chris.
cool love in there in the comments.
Well, Chris, the Monster Rangers are for people like Steam Crow, so there you go. It's for you.
Frank was also saying he kind of wants a badge. So just to reiterate, where could Frank go if he kind of wants to become one of these Rangers?
So you go to monsterrangers.com. That's where you register. And then Steam Crow is really the headquarters of the Monster Rangers, so that's where you buy badges. We also have missions on our site on monsterrangers.com where you can basically do a mission and get a free badge. So those are often creative exercises to street team stuff, like spreading the word. Some are virtual, so you could actually not leave your house and still earn a badge by spreading the word.
Yeah,
so,
some of our missions you can't do right now.
Yeah, there's a few.
You should stay at home. So
Are you working on a stay-at-home act, or do you already have something like that you probably made for something else?
Well, yeah, again, there's some that are done virtually. Like there's an art and a song and a film
story.
So yeah, those are missions you could do from home.
Yeah.
But yeah, things are really, we've already lost a couple shows, probably going to lose most of the con season, which is, troubling. But I think I was talking to Dawna about this earlier today. As a business owner, we kind of have to, you have to kind of look at, there's these 4 quadrants. I don't remember what you call this, but you can say, hey, what if things get better? What if things get a little worse? What if things get a lot worse?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And then here's the apocalypse.
Yeah, here's the apocalypse. So
Right.
my mind always has to assume the worst and hope for the best. So, right now we're like, well, there's a lot of scrambling that we need to do to do some more virtual content, like we're talking about, like the Steam Crow Show, and ways to connect with our people, because that's super important. And if we can't see them face to face, we need to find ways to make sure that, we're connecting with them.
Yeah, because our camps are our biggest connection. And so we do a camp in January here in Mesa, so here in Arizona. And it's we got to do that one this year, which was great. So we've got one camp done. But the rest of them were I guess we were kind of lucky that they all got pushed to September rather than being in
July,
August.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've been pushed to September, but we don't know if that's going to be viable yet.
Yeah.
So that's still up in the air. And then we have the one in December, like you said.
Yeah.
But that's our chance to like camp for days overnight with our people and hand make stuff and fly kites and do derby.
And really connect with them. I mean, we get to connect directly with them and they get to connect with each other. And that's super valuable because, we're friends with these people and they tell us like what they want. And often that's great feedback. It's like market research, at an event. So they're like, hey, I wish this existed. And you're like, hey, that's not a bad idea. Let me see if we can do that.
Yeah. And we're super thankful for them because they have taken good care of us. And we want them to know that they need to take care of themselves first at this time too. That's super important. And we'll still be around after this whole debacle is over, but
in a bunker.
I know. I was at the first official meeting. So I do. And that was, and there were, it was pretty impressive then. And it's only grown from there. So
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, again, it was surprising that anyone other than, people in Phoenix would care. So that's been a pretty fantastic thing.
Have you, because you do, you are based in the Southwest and you, or West, I guess, because you go up to the Pacific Northwest and stuff too as well. But have you branched out from there? Just as the word spread to maybe the eastern side of the country or beyond?
We have a few.
Yeah, there's a smattering all over the place. Even in Australia and all over the place.
The UK.
But yeah, the UK. But some of them are waiting for us to come. So it's funny, like some people see us as a camping community, which is funny because I'm like, well, that's like the latest add-on.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, I'll join when there are camps in my town. I'm like, well, I don't know when that's going to be exactly, but you could join now and be part of it now. Now we have people that have made friends, we interact from all over the country all together now. So, but yeah, we go as far as Colorado and Utah. We had to skip Utah this year just from a scheduling problem, but yeah, we have, that far anyway.
That's awesome.
So I wanted to call out, we did get a super chat from Giovanna Sanchez, wants to know, where can I get mini comics? So I know I have mini comics. I don't know who you're addressing specifically. I do have mini comics on my website. They're sort of like deluxe artist edition comics. I think they're a little more than a regular comic, but they're all like the stuff that you guys do, all handmade, hand put together. But I don't know. What about you guys? Do you guys have mini comics?
We have maxi comics. We have the traffic novels, or we have two of those, which are Monster Commute 1 and 2 books, and then we have other books, which we have 3 others of as well.
Yeah, the first one's almost sold out.
Yeah, finally.
So our very first book that we ever did. So
nice.
Lesson: don't print nearly 2,000 books for your first book.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, that's brilliant advice. The first comic I ever did was this little comic called Numb, and then I sold out of my first run, and it was 2,000. But I was so young and naive that I was like, cool, I'm paying for the second edition. And I literally have just boxes in my garage. And that was like 10 years ago. But yeah, order in small amounts, small limits.
It's hard because you get tricked. You're like, wait a minute, these are $8 each.
Yeah.
But if I get another 1,000, it's only $4 each. Let's do that. That's the trick. Don't do it.
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of mini. If you do a YouTube search on mini comics, I'm pretty sure my video might pop up at least in the top 5, if not the first one. So, and I've got a couple of videos on mini comics. So if you want to learn how to make them, I've got videos up there. But yeah, I've got at circworks.com. You have to scroll down to the very bottom of my store because they're at the bottom. But anyway, so we're talking about products. We're talking about the stuff you do is like a lot of handmade stuff. Do you, now that you're kind of so I'm going to be all over the place, but I'll come back around.
Okay.
So what I've kind of, because I also want to give some practical advice to people that might be having to pivot in what we're doing. So basically I'm focusing mostly on digital art. Like I've got the Comic Maker Toolkit, which is basically everything you need to make comics, all together, fonts and templates and brushes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm working on a new product. I may be partnering with somebody. I got to kind of reach out to them, but I don't know where it will end up going. But so just as a craft, I kind of recruited my daughter, and we started doing some aging of paper, like old newsprint and stuff like that, because I want to do sort of a vintage style comic pack, which will scan in and do all that kind of stuff. So I know your son's a little older now, but now that you guys are all kind of sequestered and everything, are you doing all this? Are you doing more of this stuff as a family, or, making products and things like that, or?
Our boy gets kind of tired of the business talk. He's pretty tired, but he's been making stuff though. He did some Super Sculpey last night. He made a figure, so he kind of does whatever he kind of is inspired to do.
He helps us out a ton at camp, and he really does everything at camp. He wants to be a firefighter, so he is in charge of the fire. And so that's good. And he does a really great job of that. And I'm very thankful.
He helped you with Doomwood Derby this year.
Oh, he totally helped me with Doomwood Derby because Daniel wasn't able to come to camp this year. So and it was our first Doomwood Derby ever. And so there was a lot of unknowns with the track and everything like that. And it was a serious Doomwood Derby. There was lots of crashes and it was epic and awesome.
Doomwood Derby is our version of Pinewood Derby. So we have toy cars. Do you want to grab one?
Yeah, I'll go grab one.
Yeah, we made these toy car kits so people build their own cars and choose their character and build it into it. And so we have an art show, like a car show, where we grade your car. And then from there, then we race them. So whoever wins is a combo between their creativity and craftsmanship combined with their speed.
So is there any aspect that's similar to like the Boy Scouts that you haven't implemented? And do you have the equivalent of Girl Scout cookies? Are there Monster Scout cookies?
No, that's a whole nother arena where I have to go through the health department. So I don't know if we're gonna make cookies. I mean, we do have rangers that make, like, they've made their own cookie cutters, 3D printed their own cookie cutters, and they make Monster Ranger cookies for camp and for other people and stuff, which is really cool. But we haven't.
I just want to see the packaging more than even if it didn't have anything in it.
We could do the packaging.
Yeah, easier than making the product.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, Doomwood Derby
included.
It could be like a Girl Scout cookie-esque box with, a T-shirt inside or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be.
Yeah,
it could be.
So yeah, I think that's really cool that you have such a kind of connected community-based thing, and it is a little. It's a bummer that some of that community isn't able to be in person, like at these events. But the nice thing is, like much like you guys were saying at the top, like I relate to that a lot. Like as a creative, I had a lot of friends on Facebook and stuff like freaking out about the having to stay at home, and they're like, "What'll I do? I got to binge watch shows. I have no idea what to do." And meanwhile, I'm like, oh man, like if the income issue weren't as hit by this would be like heaven for me. It's just like, I love being at home all day. I want to make stuff. Mm-hmm. You're saying I can stay home and make stuff? Oh, let me do this all the time. Because I think like when you're creative, it's like that's kind of what we do. That's our wheelhouse. So yeah, but it's cool that you've built like kind of the whole thing hubbed online and kind of diversified it away from just being reliant on those conventions, because that would have been a much bigger issue. Well, right now.
And like I've been feeling it for years before the Rangers that the conpocalypse was coming.
Yeah.
It was a bubble and a boom, right? And it was starting to cool off already and kind of becoming less about discovering creative, interesting people that were making their own content and more about celebrity signings and play, which is fine. But it was really veering away from the reason that I wanted to do cons and the artist alley that I went and saw at first. And so I thought there was something in something was coming. I didn't know it was this at all.
Yeah.
But we knew that we were in kind of a danger zone if we were so dependent on cons. And so at our peak, we were doing about 17 a year. And some of those booths were 20 by 20 islands. So this wasn't 17 artist alley tables. This was 17 10 by 20s or 20 by 20s. So our booth fee peak was around almost $40,000 a year. So that's $40,000 that we put out and wait a year to try to win the money back from.
Yeah.
So we got that whittled down to less than that finally.
Mhm.
So, but still, that wasn't feeling great, So I'm glad that we've been, we were working on ways to change that, because it just wasn't, I don't know, it just didn't make sense,
Well, and as the shows change and the attendees change, it was getting harder for us to attract people who were interested in us, because we weren't mainstream, and we weren't doing what a lot of people recognized. So it was getting to be a challenge, and just trying to explain ourselves, and people would come up to us and say, well, how come, are you a movie? Are you a comic? Are you a game?
Or do you have any Three Stooges? And,
Oh, yeah.
that wasn't what we were about. So yeah, we've been, luckily we got, so luckily we've, been working on that and changing it. And the thing is, I love Comic-Cons. I loved having those kinds of experiences and meeting new people. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
But again, it just wasn't kind of rolling like it was. Like, we were there at the boom and the up, and it wasn't, it wasn't going up, last year. So it was good to kind of pull back already. So yeah, I think things evolve, and once we get through this whole crazy plague stuff, I think it'll be interesting to see what that looks like on the other side.
Yeah, because I just decided that the last year con was going to be my last con, unless I was invited as a guest or something. Just because it wasn't. I mean, it was profitable, but it when you consider all the time that went into it, I mean, weeks beforehand, and I was just doing the one show really, and it was like, I don't know. I just said, you know what, I could take that time, and I could, sink that time into making whatever digital products or whatever else. So I kind of go that route, and I'm glad I did now. Not that I was making, any, significant amount of my income from shows, but having, in the position where I am right now, where I was moving towards trying to make all my money from passive income and moving away from clients. Once that client work dried up, at least I'm in a better position where, like you said, if you had just started, Order of Obscura now, it would be a lot harder. You've already, and so, for all the bad stuff that's going on, at least, for us, at least us two or three, at least, we're sort of in a better position. But for people that might not be, for people that might, have lost most of their income, if they had like a regular day job and like, well, all I got now is my art, I need to make art, or people aren't buying my art anymore. Because obviously you said you're in a better position, and hopefully, assuming things don't just get worse and worse and worse, that eventually we get back to normal, you'll probably be okay. But you also talked about, this is another thing that I heard on another business podcast, the Biz Buds, with Michael Janda and Tom Ross. And they were talking about basically setting up each scenario, worst case all the way down to best case. And then if you can kind of look at worst case and like, this is the worst that can happen. And if you can be okay with that, like, okay, well, maybe I have to move back in with my parents or something like that. If you're okay with that, then you can hopefully get some of that worry out, and you can go back to start producing or whatever. So that won't be the case. But so what have you guys changed or pivoted at all? Are you just focusing all your efforts into, the membership? Are you playing around with some new ideas? I mean, what's kind of in this particular scenario we're in right now, what are you doing differently, if anything?
Well, a lot of it's just the plan, right, that we've already had. So now it buys us some chance to work on the things that we kind of had to delay because of cons. So we're halfway through writing a season of Calling All Monster Rangers, which is a podcast, a story podcast that's all the fiction of the Monster Rangers. So they're basically found recordings from 1910.
Oh, I love it.
You have to, when you release that, you got to let me know. So Like,
Yeah.
so, because I love podcasts and I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so they're vintage style recordings, so they're distorted and they're old, like we found them in a well. So they're basically headquarters podcasting to rangers in the field on both instruction and orders and just knowledge about the monster rangers, just like a normal person would want to have. And sometimes in the field they call back. Sometimes in the field they get into trouble. And so I started writing this with Dawna here last year, and so it kind of had to take a pause with all the stuff going on. But I want to get that going again and get that launched. But that's one of our big goals anyway. And then the Steam Crow show is Monster Ranger, calling all Monster Rangers fiction. Steam Crow show reality. So it's me and Dawna talking. Dawna teaches classes on how to make stuff. I'm going to teach stuff too. Also, we do just silly stuff. We do a thing called Pop Soda Cola where we sample foreign and weird sodas. And anyway, it's just kind of that. So getting back to that again, because we got behind on that. So, those are things where we're going to be able to try to find new people, but also connect with our existing people.
Yeah.
So two big initiatives that we've got to, I think we'll have a chance to really finally work on again. And then we have a bunch of products already ready to launch as well. So that's good news. We got really lucky. So Chinese New Year, which was also Corona time, right?
Mm-hmm.
We rushed to get our year's worth of badges and patches made. So we basically do one big order a year. And it's big. It's like for every event and everything for the whole year, we try to map out every need we have for badges and patches. So we did it, but it got really close to Chinese New Year. Our existing vendor was a real pain, and we had to find a new vendor. And anyway, we just squeaked it in. And then when we got the patches, boom, this all hit.
Oh.
And all the patch companies were like, no more business. And then Chinese New Year got extended, and it became a real nightmare. So thank goodness we got that done at least.
We were super lucky.
Yeah, being on the other end with similar products, like where I work as an art director, you guys definitely lucked out if you got it before. Because for anyone who's watching who hasn't outsourced stuff, it's like usually when you order stuff from China, there's this long chunk of time. It sometimes lasts about 2 weeks. Some factories it's like about a month, and literally everything just shuts down. So like if you're in retail or you're putting in orders, you always want to get them like before or like right before the beginning of Chinese New Year, so you'll get it at the end. If you're one of those people who did it right before the beginning, so you could get it at the end, and then all the shipping, manufacturing, and factories just shut down, you're in a difficult position at that point. So you guys were really lucked out. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's generally when we try to do it, but having that vendor problem really, we lost like a month. Like it would have had the orders in a month earlier, but we just lost more and more and more time. And I had to go to some friends and and go, hey. With Tiny Army, where I met Scott years ago, which was like a local community of creators. I created this network of people I could share with, but I had to go outside of that network to somebody going like, hey, I know I've never shared any information with you before, but I really am going to share anything you want to know from me, I will tell you, but where do you get your patches done? So I hate that because, it's all relationship based. I get asked a lot. Where do you get products made? And if I don't know you, I don't really want to tell you because I feel like you're just,
Yeah, 100%.
You're just kind of rifling me for information. But with friends, it's a different kind of thing.
Yeah, there's that difference between the kind of like, I remember back when my friend Kevin Cross and I used to do a podcast on illustration, we'd get emails all the time from aspiring illustrators who the first question they'd ask is like, can you give us your client list? And it's like, well, no, like, what are you crazy? Like, I don't know you. And like, why would I give you all my clients? Like, that's nuts.
Because I'm all about sharing stuff, and that's why I do YouTube, but there's just certain things that you don't.
Yeah, there's some lines you just don't.
Well, and again, if I had to risk, hey, I had to risk $7,000 on this order, like, I don't want to share that unless you're somebody that shares back.
Yeah.
it's trade secret stuff. I mean, I hate to be that way, but sometimes again, if you're just rifling me for information, I don't know.
100%. I get that. Yeah.
But Scott, you started to raise a question earlier of, hey, if you're just lost your job, you're an artist, what do you do now? I don't have any super concrete answers, but I think you'd be wise to look long term and go, how do I make something meaningful to people? How do I make original content? I see a lot of these people that have been doing 30 shows a year doing fan art, and that's swell. But guess what? You can't sell your Baby Yoda online without getting in trouble. So you're kind of, you're cornered a little bit if you're not making original content. And so I'd say, I still think I've always said this, but I feel like that's where it's at. If you're a creative person, make some creative things and,
it's definitely not the easy way, but I think in the end, it's the best way. I mean, that's kind of what I did. Cause even, as far back as, cause I think I did. And I think they were more public domain, but I had some trading. No, I remember what it was. I was doing these, I was doing what I assume were parody, but it was kind of like they were like what do you call it? The Exquisite Corpse, but it was like Masters of the Universe. And I think I showed you a while back, and you're like, you should do your own thing. So then what I did was either do like public domain or make my own stuff. And I was selling those cards for a while. But yeah, I mean, so so you kind of, in a lot of ways, you kind of steered me in that direction. So I'm definitely all about, making your own original stuff. But you did mention a few things that I think are some good takeaways. And that is, with Dawna doing the teaching, if you have a skill, if you could, and a lot of this, you do have to have an audience to kind of sell to people, but courses or just classes, anything like that, if you've got some kind of skill that other people don't, whether that's teaching on YouTube or offering some kind of course, that's one way to do it. There's something else it'll come to me in a minute. That's something else that you guys brought up. But you said long term. So start thinking where right now we don't know we're pretty sure that eventually we will get back to normal. When that does happen, people are going to want to go out there, are going to do things. And because right now, the way I look at it right now is I'm in kind of this weird position where I've got a little leeway on some of my bills. I contact my mortgage company. I get sort of a deferment for a few months. So I feel like I'm in this area, like some kind of sci-fi movie where the whole world is put on hold, but I'm allowed to move around in that world. So while everything's on standstill, I'm just going, I'm like buckling down and trying to get as much stuff out there as possible. Because even if, and I think because I'm doing digital, I think it'll still do all right. But even if, a lot of people are going to start losing their jobs and things like that, and if there aren't as much people to buy that kind of stuff, at least I'll have it, and that's not going to go away. Once you complete that project, and now's the time to do it when you have the time, once you complete these things, they're done. And even if they're not going to sell right now, chances are they could sell depending on what it is. And if you can kind of think about, well, people are going to want to go after this. One thing that I noticed, just, because I still exercise, I still go on walks, I keep social distance, but when I'm walking by people, it just seems like everyone's like waving and a lot more friendly than it was before, because they've missed that. So when we get back to normal, people are going to want that. So think about that. That's what people are going to need when this comes out. And how can you create or facilitate something for that, whether, just try to think ahead, because it's coming. It's hopefully, if not, then we got bigger problems to worry about. So,
Well, yeah. So one of our other plans is to cover our whole house with dirt. So it's like a hobbit hole kind of.
Yes.
You obviously don't have an HOA.
We do have an HOA, but I wrote him and I said, I want to bury our house in dirt. But Dawna she's not so sure. So if you guys,
I'm such a fan of hobbit holes. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the ideal home.
In a hobbit hole. I'm about as tall as a hobbit, so I'm all good with a hobbit hole. I think it's great.
Dawna, come on.
So I think I think this is actually a really good example of like, I think when you're creative, the time is always now for making your own creative vision come to life, because, even in like, I'm really happy with my job as an art director. But one of the things that makes me good at my job as an art director for other people is the fact that I'm doing my own thing outside of that. Because otherwise I'd be really miserable and I'd be terrible to my clients, because I'd be like, I don't want this. I want this. If I weren't doing the things I wanted, I wouldn't find any fulfillment in doing things for other people. And so like one of the beauties of this thing hitting that it's just luck and circumstance is like, the second this got finished, I had just finished the last page of like a 5-year project of a graphic novel that I've just been carving away at for 5 years. And like, it opened up this window to get a literary agent, to get it shopped out, to build a proposal, to actually see if this thing has any legs and will see the light of day. Because I've gone the self-publishing route, and like, if I can avoid inventory and have good distribution, I'm all about it. So, but like I said, if that comes to be, it's not like it just came by like somebody coming to me and being like, here, have a book, like deal, we want you to do a graphic novel. It came from me having a vision for something that needed to be out there, and then doing the legwork, to put it out there and then build from there. And I think like what you guys are doing with Steam Crow is like a perfect example of that kind of thing, where it's like, I think I mentioned this before we started recording. I became a fan of your work back when it was a webcomic, and was just like a huge fan, because like the crazy amount of work that went into that. And you guys built that. You kind of have navigated and shifted and kind of found a market where you can be creative and be passionate and create stories and like impact and help people. And it's like, that's the kind of thing as artists and creatives. I think if you don't feed that, I think regardless, like if you only chase money as a creative, I think not only most of the time you may not find that money, but a lot of the time you're also just going to be like really miserable.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, I don't think it should take a virus or a quarantine to do it. But here's the thing. If you're in a position where you have no job and you're stuck at home and you have a pen and a piece of paper, this is the time to make that thing. Like, what's that thing you've been killing to do if you just had the time? Now you have the time,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure. In 2000, I was lamenting that no one ever hired me to draw a monster. No one did. No one ever wanted me to draw a monster. So I had to be the one to believe in drawing monsters and creating worlds. So I had to make it from nothing. And that's exactly what you did with your graphic novel. You created the market by just making it. And that's the Rangers. I mean, there was no template. There was nothing. I didn't know how to do it.
We just kind of did it.
Yeah.
Well, we were interested in it.
We spent almost 2 weeks up in Spokane, Washington at his mom's house, and we were drawing badges and designing and creating the folklore behind it. And we designed a bag for everybody to put the badges on and stuff. And so it was a lot of all this pre-work, and we're like, we don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to put it out there. So
but we tested with a few people. I'm like, well, we want to start this community thing, like a secret club. Would you be in it, or is this a terrible idea? Please tell me. But other than that, then we went for it. But going for it sometimes is the thing. Like people want to be in, follow people that believe in something, and so believe in your thing, make it into something.
Yeah, and I think like just throughout this whole thing, even the side projects you guys were talking about, it's like, making a podcast, it's like an old-timey 1910 era, like, dispatches of, I think that doesn't sound like it's chasing profit. It sounds fun and like something you guys thought of that's like, actually most of this sounds like that, like something you guys thought of, you're like, that should exist, like that's really cool, it should exist, and then you guys actually just make it, which is that's how that kind of stuff gets made. I think that's amazing. Well,
with Steam Crow, it was always, what's our dream job? It wasn't It wasn't, what are we going to make a bunch of money doing? Because that would have been making art, right? So dream job for me was, I want to make things I care about for people I like, so the dream job was to sit at home and make a fantasy world with monsters and people and, and write stories about it and make miniatures and.
Yeah, this whole thing has worked because I think Daniel has like a really good gut instinct of like where we should go and what we should do. Not everything has been a hit, but it's been a really nice like working relationship with the two of us. So we're not at each other's throat every day. I mean, it's a typical we have a typical relationship. It's good.
It's
I like
typical?
it.
Is that what you call it? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, pretty typical.
Typical.
But
I'll be more erratic from now on.
He is Captain Random. But he's had a really good, like, just his creative energy and this work ethic and this focus is sometimes tunnel vision, but it's gotten us to this position. And I'm really happy that we've had this opportunity to be able to work together. We started this in 2005. It's 2020 now, and we've been able to stay closer as a family, even with Cade being an online school and whatnot. So we have our own little werewolf pack that I like to call. And so we've gotten to spend more time together rather than us just seeing each other at 4 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock at night for dinner.
Yeah. Before this became both of our job, we our quality time was the commute. Like we spent time in the car and then dinner, and that was about it. And so now, man, it's been, how many years have you been with, like, at home?
I have been free for 5 years.
5?
5, going on 6.
Yeah, so 6 years we've been together every day, including our son too. So we, that's 6 years, man. That's money in the bank, but that's a special thing that not every family gets. So, it's been a challenge, and it hasn't been as lucrative as having a day job. Yeah. On the other hand, it's been rich in that other way, so.
Well, what I always say, like, for me, like, sure, if I had some Joe job or whatever, probably pay more or whatever, but I would just be working for the weekend to do the stuff that I'm doing now that I'm getting paid for. So, and I also realize that I'm sort of in a fortunate position where I can do that. Not everyone gets that opportunity, but a lot of that is because I put in the time and to make it happen too. So, and going back to, like, right now, I mean, there are definitely things going on. So I don't want to make light of that, but so there are legitimate excuses, but I think also there's a lot of excuses, things that, if you find yourself where there's levels. I mean, I know there's repression and things like that, but if you find yourself just, watching Netflix all day and complaining because you don't get any work done, that's a problem. But now, I mean, like Josh said, I mean, now's the perfect time, and it's been echoed in the chat and everything. So, I put this up before, but Ryan from Dream Syndicate Art Doll says people have to get ready for the next time the economy comes back. You have to be ready now.
Yeah,
I concur with that statement.
Yeah. Always be planting those seeds. Always be building that, that idea and that next thing, and that stuff blooms over time. But it's just that you just got to be that farmer, like, digging every day, though.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things too, where, like, I'm very happy with my position and where I work and stuff, but I also want to make weird autobiographic novels, and it's like been a passion of mine forever, and so that's what I do. But because of that, like, I literally get home, spend time with my kid, with my wife, and then from like 10 to 2 in the morning, I'm working on comics. And it's like that's my day every day. That's how you get that stuff going. And if that transplants the main thing, great. If not, but like, once again, like, now, I mean, if you're in a position where you're at home and you're healthy and like, why not forget the Netflix binge and just binge in creativity? Like, dream up a world, like make a product that doesn't exist, make like what you guys designed is amazing. Like that's such a cool idea. And you're right. It's like a unique, I don't think there is a business model like that. Like, you know, but you guys made that. And that's kind of, I think that's a really, I think that should be encouraging for people in our audience that might, you know, feel frustration with like the day job or frustration with like, or have that vision thing where they're like, one day I always, that's something we always harp on here, but it's just like, you know, it's not going to hand itself to you. You have to kind of actually do it.
No. And it's scary. It's scary to take that big leap, you know, it's a huge leap of faith because you as an artist and a creative person are putting your own work out there. And there's a lot of people out there who are either going to love it or they're going to hate it, and focus on those people that love your work because they're the ones that are going to drive you to keep doing better. There are always those who are going to be like, you suck, but you know, it's hard not to hear them, but focus on that good thing and just plow through it, because the more you do, the better you get, the easier it is to take that next leap to get even better. I think too, you know, being passionate about something really matters, and being interested in the world around you. So those two things, man, get you a long ways. Be curious about the world. And, you know, that can really drive you to make a lot of stuff.
I also think what you guys do just speaks to the power of niching down, because there's nothing else like what you guys are doing. And if you were to go to a bank and ask for a loan and say, hey, I want to start this monster, it's basically like the Boy Scouts with monsters and this, I mean, they'd probably laugh you out of there. But, you know, I mean, it's, but you've proven it's successful. I mean, because, and you found, and there's even no matter how far you go down, there are people out there that want that. They may not even know it yet, but they want that. I mean, that's kind of the, you know, and I haven't focused enough on it, and I haven't been as successful with, but the whole mad science supply thing. I mean, you know, that the whole idea was that, you know, I watch these movies and these mad scientists, they got all this crazy stuff. Where do they get it from? It doesn't exist, so why not create it, you know, or at least a tongue-in-cheek version of it, and build a brand around that. So, I mean, you guys, I always look to you with your brand and like, wow, I mean, you guys are the ones that are like doing it right. And so, I mean, those are two of my biggest things. It's like branding and niching down, create something that doesn't really exist, you know, because there's people that want that. They, like I said, they just don't know it yet.
Yeah, and being authentic to your interests, you know, like, you know, you can't artificially just go, you know, what's the money maker? Pharmaceutical comics, you know, but you know, rather, you know, you got to go internal and go. I looked at that at one point. So I was looking at Monster Commute. Sorry, side story. In Monster Commute, I was looking at AdWords, and I'm like, you know what pays the most are pharmaceutical terms. You get $90 a click. So I'm like, I'll make a pharmaceutical comic. And then I was like, I don't know how to do that.
That doesn't work. Your humor doesn't work that way.
I don't know. No. Anyway, don't do that. But yeah. Anyway,
but I could see like, and I think you even do have like the little elixirs. You know, I don't know. There's some kind of tie in there that's, like I said, kind of tongue in cheek and everything like that. But you had the bottles and stuff that you would sell.
Oh, our poison bottles,
Not quite medicine, probably the opposite, but
no, we had a vampire elixir.
Yeah. We did, but it's still not tied into.
No, it isn't.
To the television commercials for old people.
No,
that's what I'm talking about. Lipitor, or whatever it's called.
Silver solution.
No steam crow clapper in the works.
No.
No. We make some practical products for our rangers. You know, an enamel mug and
sporks,
and bandanas and a bottle opener.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You guys have like canteens and
no canteens yet because we like the old school ones.
Yeah, like the Monster Rangers are from 03 to 1918. So it's been hard to find canteens that have that vintage vibe that aren't plastic or like camp blanket, that Mexican camp blanket side, you know, those.
Yeah.
That's about the closest. But yeah. Anyway, we're always on the lookout for weird vintagey stuff. Like
Mhm.
we eventually want to, one day I want a pocket knife, and one day I want a hatchet, and
When I hatch it.
someday I'd love to have a cast iron. That would be killer, like a Dutch oven. But
Oh, that
whatever.
would be sweet.
Whatever. That's later.
Yeah, if you could have one of your logos or something imprinted in that, so when you make your flapjacks, it's got a little steam crow monster on it.
There you go.
Yeah. Man, yeah, the possibilities are endless. So,
They are.
Well, I love it. So I have a question just kind of relating to the topic too, which is like, from like, I used to do freelance for about 15 years of my life, like working from home and stuff. And there's ebbs and flows. So I'd have like a year where I did better than I've ever done in my life. And then the next year would be like flat. And then the next year might be below. and it's kind of a rough ride, especially kind of getting to the point of having consistency with like, reliable income based on it. So what do you guys, what's been kind of your bellwether? Like what's kept you guys going like through like ups and downs in your own,
You
thing?
mean monetarily? Like, are we talking like product wise or
No, not monetarily. I
Or
mean,
like
just like for your own faith
spiritually?
in your own company,
Mm.
like, and your own prospects and stuff. Like what kind of keeps you guys writing it out without mass anxiety?
The enthusiasm of our community.
Yeah.
Hands down. These people are amazing. Like what's happened is we've given them permission to play with us in this universe. So we'll make an outline of a universe, right? Hey, it kind of works like this. Here's the words we use. Here's some of our monsters. And they'll come back and go, hey, look, I made this thing. That's my take on that idea. And it's amazing. And it's a great idea. And, they share it with the community, and it's so that is so exciting and inspiring. So they've taken these seeds that we plant and they go in a different direction that's usually richer and better. Because there's 2 brains here, and there's 2,000 brains of rangers out there, and so those people, that's a lot of brain power. So yeah, so their enthusiasm and their creativity.
And they're super supportive of each other. They're not just
Yeah.
supportive of us.
Yeah.
They support each other.
Because that's one of our rules is that, like when I met Dawna, she was like the nicest person I've ever met. And so it made me want to be a better person. And so that kind of became a rule. Hey, we were nice to each other. This is a secret society where we're nice to each other in here. We're protected. Don't be a dick because you're out. And so people aren't. And it's amazing. So I think part of it's because it's geeky enough. It's a nerdy enough idea that like if you want to be a dick, you're not going to want to make a uniform and be a monster. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Before you can get in.
Yeah,
So,
it is. It's a lot of work to come to camp and learn how to like I teach
like,
embroidery.
they're not going to take that much effort to hate on something.
Yeah, and there's spells within my embroidery, and there's
That's
all
so
sorts
awesome.
of stuff. So yeah, so it's there's a leap for people to take to be part of this, because you have to be careful because we're not a cult. This is not a cult.
Yeah, but it's a pretend cult. So like, yeah, so yeah.
You guys aren't requiring everybody to wear maroon and move to Oregon?
Well,
no.
No, we wear orange, mister.
And gray and brown. But
yeah,
but
it sounds
secretly,
awesome.
we're all really nice to each other, though, and that part is amazing, and that's contagious. Like people's interest in being nice to each other is contagious.
It is.
And we need that in the world. And really, when you look at the bigger picture of what we're trying to solve, it's it is community in a safe place to be a weirdo,
especially in these times. So what have you noticed within your community with all the stuff that's going on in the world with them rallying? Have you seen anything? You said they like to help each other out and everything like that. Do you see that in your community, like online? And obviously you're not able to see them in person right now, but
yeah, they're doing a lot of things like, hey, I want this limited edition patch that you can only get once at this one thing, and somebody will go, well, I'll cut it off my bag and send it to you if you want to trade me something for it. And so they're doing stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And again, just sharing projects. Today I saw someone making a custom Jenga, Monster Ranger themed Jenga. So they're taking Jenga and they're taking our logos and icons and words and putting it on Jenga. So that was shared today. So I don't know. It's, it's this, again, it's a playground that's shared between us. So yeah. So I think that generosity is just kind of a constant so far.
It really is inspiring for, me, I'm sure a lot of people watching that, are probably, I don't know what to do. I want to do something creative, and then what are you into? I mean, Daniel and Dawna took what they loved and they built a business and a livelihood out of it. It really is amazing. I mean, it's a lot of work. I'm not going to say that, obviously you guys can speak to that more than I can, but you have to put in the time. I mean, it's not going to just appear out of thin air. And you guys you spent the time, and you've made this investment, and it's paying off in not just monetarily, but just,
You remind me that one of my motivations when we first started was this. We had a kid, and once we had that kid, it changed me as a creative from being somebody that was really scatterbrained and just chasing a cloud of what the next creative thing would be, and realizing I needed to make a legacy. I wanted to make evidence that, your dad, me, isn't a loser dude. And I have, I wanted to make this vast evidence that, I was a creative person that, was better than just somebody that played World of Warcraft. Because that's what I did the month or two before Steam Crow came out, is I stopped drawing anything and I just played World of Warcraft. And I had this wake up call that's like, wow, I'm not an artist anymore at all. I play World of Warcraft when I'm not at work, and that's all I am. And I realized I had to reinvest into being the kind of person I wanted to be. I need to prove to myself and him that I was creative, and to Dawna,
And well, I think the other thing that has helped us really focus too is that we purposefully decided not to do any freelance. And that was, it's hard, because you're not building, clients or anything like that.
But that was also for mental health. Like Steam Crow is my mental health treatment, right? I have problems with depression. So the best way for me to get out of being depressed is to make things I love. Doing freelance is not that. Doing freelance is, oh shit, I've got to get this job done that's over my head, and I have to make these people happy, and I worry about it. It's not good for me. So in our model, I knew that freelance couldn't be part of it because it wouldn't be healthy for me. And over the last 14 years, I've made the mistake of taking on a job now and then, and that is a bad idea every single time. Now when people ask for freelance, I send them to Dawna, and Dawna says no. And then I'm like, yes, that's the answer. I want to help people because it's hard to say no, right? You don't want to say no to people. You'll meet somebody really cool that wants to work on a project, and the project sounds cool, but it's not good for me. It might be good for someone else, and so I don't begrudge anybody for having another part of their business model to make income. But for me personally, it's not good for me.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, part of why I even took a gig as an art director was literally to get out of doing freelance because and I had gotten to the point in my freelance career where people were hiring me for my style, and relatively big clients who'd just be like, do your look on this thing, and draw, they'd even have me draw cool things like monsters and stuff. And it's different when you're drawing a monster for you and a monster for them. So to me, I do think that what you're touching on is really important. I think it's to each artist, it's important to kind of focus and think about what your intention is. What do you want to see in the world that's from you? And are you doing that thing? Because if you're not doing the thing you imagine yourself doing, then you're not going to get to where you imagine yourself being,
No. And in the art world, you are what you eat,
100%.
In 2000, I was a web designer, and the .bomb era happened. Boom. And my job fell out. I had no work. So I was just barely able to build websites on my own. So I did it for clients. And so the first client I got was a dentist. And so for like $2,000, I did his website. I designed his logo and identity package and business card and everything, right, for $2,000, and it took me forever. And I did that job. And the next job I got was another dentist website. And I did that.
Yep.
And no, and in the back of my head, I'm like, man, I wish someone would hire me to draw monsters. Nope. And then the next job I got was another dental website. I'm like, holy man, I am what I eat. Like, so once Steam Crow came along, I'm like, no. What I eat is monsters. I make monsters that I want to make in the style I want to make them, and they're quirky and they're mentally health challenged and whatever. And I took all my weaknesses and in quirks and made it the thing. So yeah, I learned that hard. So yeah, again, if you want to make toothpick castles, be the person to do that and make it happen. And then eventually someone will go, man, I want you to make me a toothpick castle.
People eat that stuff up online. any kind of making art out of something that people haven't.
No, Scott, don't eat toothpicks. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
Well, we are about at our hour and a half mark. Is there anything that we didn't cover anything before we start going around the table again and saying our adieus and everything? Is there anything else you wanted to mention, or any point that you wanted to make before we start wrapping things up?
Just that, it's easy to get swept up in just reading bad news about what's going on every day, every hour. And I've gotten swept up into a lot of it of
Same
late.
here.
And so I'd say, man, do that at a certain point every day. Like check in the news at 5 o'clock. The rest of the time, make some good use of that time and keep yourself mentally healthy by maybe not reading that stuff all day long. You can find plenty of bad news right now. It's hip deep. So do that for yourself at least.
Yeah, and play the movies that you love, even if you're playing it over like 100,000 times. Play the movies in the background that you love, or the music, or do what makes you happy and kind of takes you out of the moment for a little while. And it definitely helps.
That's sound advice.
Really good advice.
So so we'll go around. So Josh, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at joshuakemble.com, and you can also find a very brief snippet of my comic about faith and mental illness. That's handwritten, hand-drawn, hand-lettered, and handed to you hopefully someday in print. Till that day, it's at quarterlystories.com. So, yeah. All
right. And Dawna and Daniel, where can everyone find you? Anything that you want to, drive people to? If you want to talk a little bit more about the Order of Obscura, or whatever you want to let people know about.
So yeah, steamcrow.com is where you'll see the stuff that we sell, which is Ranger gear and prints and art and bandanas and the like. Monster Rangers is where you find the lore and the world, and also the missions, and where you sign up to be a Monster Ranger. And that's where you can learn about the Order of Obscura, which is a whole nother URL, orderofobscura.com. But you can find it there on Monster Rangers too. And that's basically our version of Patreon, where we have things like Badge of the Month Club and Mystery of the Month and so on. And so you can check that out too. And thank you for having us on. That's the other part is.
When this thing gets back to normal, we gotta, since I'm not doing any more shows, we gotta find another way to meet and hang out or something. So
definitely.
Yeah. All right. So, and as far as me, you can find me at circworks.com. Where was that? There was a comment here. So Frank wanted to know where he could find an expanding brain in a 10. You can find that at circworks.com, but I'm pretty sure you knew that. And like I said, on my right now on my Patreon, there's a video that I made live for everyone to see. You don't have to be a Patreon if you more on kind of this topic, but basically just working from home, because I've worked from home for a while now. So I just gave some of my tips, and for people that may just find themselves working from home for the first time and want to be productive, you can go to my Patreon. It's just, I guess you just search CircWorks on Patreon. Oh, well, there's the link there. So there's that. And also, like I said, I opened up the live stream, which was only for the $20 patrons, up to all my patrons. So even as low as the $2 Patreon tier, So if you want to hang out with me, what, $2 you could do like $2 and then cancel after that, and you get to hang out with me. So and ask me whatever questions you want. You could be like you were on this show basically. So so anyway, so yeah, and beyond that, the show that we do, the Artcasters, we do this every single week. It rotates back and forth between Josh's channel and my channel, usually on Thursday nights around 9 p.m. Pacific. But every once in a while, and things are changing right now, so you never know what's going on. So it could change, but if you want to know exactly when we're going to go live or what channel we're going to be on, all that stuff, we have a newsletter for the Artcasters. We don't spam you or anything like that. Just usually 30 minutes ahead of time, we send out an email with a link where you can find us, and you can maybe even join us here in the chat. And having said that, I do want to thank everyone in the chat and also for the support. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Definitely follow Steam Crow. They do awesome stuff. I have been friends and fans of theirs for years, and they really are an inspiration. So yeah, if nothing else, just go check out their site and just be in awe of what they're doing over there. So
Frank was mentioning something that might have to happen. A monster dentist website. Anyhow, so yeah.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, everyone. We will see you next week.
Caw.